Her name is Robyn, and let me tell you, she was the one person who would never let me step even a toe out of line. For more than a decade, we've all witnessed the slow, messy unraveling of the Brown family. Every side, eye glance, every awkward argument, every family decision that somehow seemed to benefit just one household while leaving the others scraping by, and we've analyzed it all, haven't we? Fans of Sister Wives have spent years connecting the dots, decoding the dysfunction we've seen play out on screen. We've heard rumor of healing with Mary, healing with Janelle, healing with Christine, but the truth, no matter how close we felt, we were always on the outside, forced to guess at what was truly going on behind the scenes. Until now, what began as a hot-tempered screaming argument between a father and his sons, has now resonated through the doors of a courtroom. At some point during the pandemic, Kody Brown allegedly yelled at his children, Garrison, Gabriel, you have to choose. The nanny was permitted to visit because she followed the rules, but his sons were not allowed to visit their girlfriends, and in typical teenager anger, Garrison shot back, "This is bull." That notorious argument spawned the line that is still jokingly repeated by fans today. Then why does the nanny come over? It became a meme running, a universe-wide punchline. Even Kody himself insisted. What does the nanny do? Well, fast forward to the present, and that very same question has come back in the most unexpected fashion. Within a chilly courtroom, a lawyer gazed at a judge and said it nearly verbatim. "Your Honor, we asked the very same thing, and here is the surprise. After years of digging financially, after a multi-year forensic examination of the Browns' business accounts, the solution finally emerged. A solution that now rests at the very center of one of the most explosive legal fights in Sister Wives history. This is not family drama. This is not about divorce or polygamy. This, my friends, is a corporate war. At the center, Janelle Brown, the level-headed, practical financial anchor of the family, against Kody and Robyn Brown, the pair she believes has used the family business as their own personal piggy bank. And here is where it gets interesting, because to really know how this became the ultimate betrayal, we have to rewind. Not to the driveway arguments or the public blowouts, but to the silent months after Janelle left Kody. While Christine was flourishing in Utah, while Janelle was getting settled on her own, something much larger was happening quietly. Janelle, the practical bookkeeper of the family, started wading through the figures, not as a wife, not as a cast member on reality television, but as a corporate officer of the family's business corporation, Dabzark, Inc. Yis, you heard correctly, Dabzark. A name that ominously omitted the first 13 Brown children and the initial 3 wives. From the beginning, the very format of this company foreshadowed what was in store: favoritism, exclusion, and imbalance. Dabzark ran everything for years: the book royalties, the TLC money, the side ventures, even the speaking engagements. Cash came in, and it was meant to go back out to all 5 partners in equal amounts: Kody, Mary, Janelle, Christine, and Robyn. That was the idea, but when Janelle eventually became privy to the accounts after her breakup, what she learned wasn't equality, it wasn't parity. What she found was a money black hole, a consistent draining of money flowing out of Dabzark, year after year. And that is just the start. So if you want to find out how far down this rabbit hole is, how money, deceit, and greed tore this family apart, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell, because what I am about to show could blow the Browns' empire wide open for good. That draining of funds always ended up the same place, the same bank account again and again. And when Janelle followed those payments, the name on the account stunned her: Robyn's nanny. Now let's pause for a second. We've all argued about the nanny for years. Fans have speculated. Who was she really? Was she just some employee, a family friend, a distant relative? And the bigger question, why on earth did Robyn Brown, a stay-at-home mom with a husband practically living at her house full-time, even need a nanny at all? Remember, between the other wives, 13 children were raised without ever hiring a single paid helper. Well, as reported in Superior Court of Arizona filings, the reality is stunning. The nanny wasn't an employee of the family by any means. She was Robyn Brown's personal domestic help, and all of her paychecks were going straight through the family company books. This was no sloppy accounting. It was no misstep. No, the lawsuit outright refers to it by its proper name: theft, deliberate, planned and executed over several years. So how did Janelle ultimately discover it? Think about this. She is living in her RV, frantically trying to get her Coyote Pass property constructed, a property she had invested her savings on, a property that held her future, and there she was. Short on cash, concerned not just for herself, but for the 6 kids she was raising alone. One evening she sat down to review Dabzark's year-end corporate statement. At first everything seemed like routine transactions, until one line stopped her cold. A bi-weekly payment, the exact same amount, on repeat like clockwork, the payee. A woman we'll call Mindy Jensen for privacy's sake, but who fans widely recognize as none other than Robyn's nanny. And here is the surprise. This wasn't some payment made years ago. This was a transaction dated 2 days ago. Consider that, by this point, Janelle's children had already been excluded from Robyn's household. Christine's children had been severed years earlier. Kody's connection with his sons was all but non-existent. The family was destroyed. And yet, among the wreckage of those destroyed relationships, the nanny was still receiving her salary, in part paid for by the family business. Sources indicate that Janelle sat motionless, gazing at the figures for almost an hour. The numbers ran together, but the reality could not be denied. This was not merely about finances, it was about years of hypocrisy, years of Kody talking of sacrifice and unity of family, as he quietly lined the cushions of one wife. Christine and Janelle had not only been wives, they were reluctant investors, unwilling shareholders, in Kody and Robyn's own fantasy of monogamy. That evening, Janelle didn't call Kody. She didn't text Robyn. She picked up her phone and dialed an attorney, not a divorce lawyer, not a mediator. No, she called a firm of corporate litigation attorneys, and not any company. Informed sources claim she headed directly to one of Scottsdale's most tenacious legal firms, Starkweather and Associates, a company known for dismantling corrupt CEOs and unmasking multi-million-dollar financial abuse. Their motto, "Your partner's problem is our problem to solve." When Janelle spread out the company layout, the financial accounts, and those nanny payments, lawyers were said to be stunned. These were lawyers accustomed to hearing tales of dodgy partners and scams worth 7 figures, and even they could hardly credit what they saw. One junior associate is said to have looked to the lead attorney and asked, "So let me get this straight. The president of this 5-member company used corporate funds to quietly pay a nanny privately to care for his favorite wife, while simultaneously keeping the other partners, and their children, who are just as much a part of this family business, out of that very same support." When Janelle checked the records, the lead attorney leaned back in his chair and smiled and said, "This is not a family brawl. This is a slam-dunk breach of fiduciary duty." The forensic audit uncovered astounding facts. Among them, $1,000 charges to lingerie outlets such as Victoria's Secret and other upscale stores. Each transaction was routed directly to Kody and Robyn's home. Robyn's attorney later asserted these purchases were research for my sister-wife's closet, but auditors noted something telling: the charges had been made long after that store had closed. And then the QVC link. The audit revealed a steady stream of buys, figurines, household decor, jewelry, all to Robyn's front door, all on the company account, all paid out of company funds. According to the suit, these were not business expenditures, they were company-funded personal shopping sprees. And it didn't end there. Yearly, the car payments and insurance on Robyn's minivan were billed to the company. The car was kept in the books as a company car, but not one other wife was ever extended such a benefit. When Janelle was finally presented the complete audit binder, packed thick with proof, she understood there would be no hush deal, no backroom settlement. This was not going to be kept under wraps. She would sue Kody and Robyn, and she wanted the world to know it. The day the lawsuit was filed, the news broke. Since it was public record, tabloids such as the Sunday and In Touch Weekly reported it immediately. Headlines blazed across the internet. Sister wife sues Kody and Robyn for embezzlement. Nanny scandal rocks Brown family. $92,000 misused funds. Kody and Robyn's response: exactly what you'd expect, and exactly what lawyers called a huge mistake. Instead of staying silent and letting their legal team handle it, they launched a public relations war. Kody fired the first shot on Twitter, in a fusillade of angry tweets subsequently deleted. He branded Janelle bitter, greedy, even cheating on him. He maintained the suit was merely a personal vendetta against him and against his leadership. He asserted that all financial choices he made were in the best interest of the family. It was Robyn's turn next. A tearful sit-down interview with a sympathetic blogger hastily uploaded to YouTube. She sobbed and said she didn't know why the accusations were brought against her. She said again and again that they were still one family, and the nanny was there to take care of everyone. She said Janelle was fracturing the family on the issue of money. She said she never touched the finances, that was Kody's job, and was being unduly punished for having young children who required more attention. She coined it as persecution, but the interview bombed shortly after fans swarmed the comments, highlighting what decades of video had already demonstrated: the nanny was never caught assisting Christine's or Janelle's children. Actually, those kids weren't even allowed in Robyn's house. Her "we were all one family" alibi crumbled under the might of the show's own testimony. And Janelle kept quiet. She did not tweet. She did not lash out. She did not weep on television. Her attorneys at Starkweather issued one measured statement instead. "Our client has made a legal complaint in the context of a business dispute. Facts will be heard in court, not on social media. We are confident about our case." The contrast could not have been more stark. Janelle was businesslike, Kody and Robyn were emotional, the lines were drawn, and the next phase in this battle was to get underway, the most important pre-trial phase of all: depositions. When Janelle finally verified the records, her lawyer leaned back, smiled knowingly, and declared, "This is not a family feud. This is a slam-dunk breach of fiduciary duty." The forensic audit revealed stunning facts, among them, thousands of dollars of lingerie purchases from Victoria's Secret and other upscale stores, each and every one mailed directly to Kody and Robyn's doorstep. Robyn's attorney subsequently attempted to spin it, saying these were research costs for my sister-wife's closet, but the auditors noted the obvious fact: the charges continued to accumulate long after that business had closed its doors. Next was the QVC trail: non-stop orders, figurines, home decor, glitzy jewelry, all shipped to Robyn's front door, all reimbursed on company expense accounts. Far from business investments, contends the lawsuit. They were mere shopping sprees masquerading as corporate expenses. And the benefits did not stop there. The audit revealed that annually, year after year, payments for Robyn's minivan insurance, financing, all of it, were being drawn directly out of company funds. The ledger accounted for it as a company car, but amazingly enough, no other wife ever enjoyed access to such a privilege. When Janelle was finally given the fat audit binder, page upon page piled high with documentation, the truth was irrefutable. There would be no quiet backroom resolution, no handshake agreement behind closed doors. She would sue Kody and Robyn, and she wanted the whole world to witness it. The instant her lawsuit landed in court, the news blew up. Since the filing was a matter of public record, tabloids such as The Sunday and In Touch Weekly quickly picked it up. Headlines ran rampant. Sister wife sues Kody and Robyn for embezzlement. Nanny scandal rocks the Brown family. $92,000 misused funds, and Kody and Robyn's reaction predictable, and according to lawyers, totally disastrous. Rather than remain mum and let their lawyers defend the case, they commenced a messy public relations battle. Kody took the first shot, firing a flurry of angry tweets which he immediately deleted. In them, he had charged Janelle with being bitter, greedy, even cheating on him. He characterized the lawsuit as merely a personal attack on him, on his leadership, and maintained that every financial decision he had ever made had been in the best interest of the family. Then there was Robyn, a sobbing, tearful sit-down interview with a sympathetic blogger, posted on YouTube the moment she was done. Between tears, she said she didn't know why the accusations were coming against her. She kept saying they were one family, that the nanny was brought in to assist everyone. She blamed Janelle for splitting them apart with money. She said she never handled finances, that was Kody's job, and maintained she was being unfairly blamed for having young children that needed special care. She referred to it as persecution, but the interview quickly blew up in her face. The audience flooded the comments with memories of what the cameras already proved for years on end: the nanny was never spotted assisting Christine's or Janelle's children. In fact, those kids were not even permitted in Robyn's house. Her one-family argument crumbled under the pressure of her own show history, and in the meantime, Janelle remained mum. No tweets, no interviews, no tearful public breakdowns. Her lawyers at Starkweather released one tightly worded statement: Our client has made a formal complaint regarding a business dispute. The facts will be heard in court, not on Twitter. We are confident in our case." The contrast was stark. Janelle cool, intense, and businesslike. Kody and Robyn, flustered, defensive, and flailing in public. The lines had been drawn. And the next phase of this high-stakes conflict was about to start, the most important step short of trial depositions. When the rest of the spending was traced by the auditors, the picture became irrefutable. The car loans, the QVC orders, even the lingerie, all had been paid out of the Dabzark account, the same account where income from the show from Janelle and Christine had been deposited. That is, their money was supporting Robyn's way of life. And then there was the witness. No one could anticipate. Christine Brown, subpoenaed by Janelle's lawyers. She entered the courtroom serene, and totally above the fray. The crowd gasped. On the witness stand, her testimony was devastating. She acknowledged she knew Robyn had a nanny, but was unaware those wages were being deducted from the business account they shared. She always assumed Kody and Robyn split that expense in private. Christine validated she was never sought out for permission, that her children were never cared for by the nanny, and in the pandemic, her children weren't even invited to Robyn's home, while company money was hiring someone to sit there daily. Her language drew the two-tiered family system into stark relief. The defense attempted to call her bitter, but she was unflappable, objective, unwavering. Then the nanny herself, Mindy Jessup, testified. Her deposition had already been embarrassing, but to the jury, it was even more devastating. She testified simply, she worked for Robyn, worked only for Robyn, and took care of only Robyn's 5 children. When questioned directly as to whether Kody ever informed her that she was working for the whole family, Mindy looked down and quietly said, He just told me that I was assisting Robyn because she was overwhelmed." That wrapped up Janelle's case. They had the money trail, the expert opinion, Christine's testimony, and the nanny's own words. It was huge. But the defense had one last roll of the dice, placing Kody and Robyn on the stand. Kody testified last. He swaggered to the witness stand like a rock star, cocky and ready for battle. He insisted he was the patriarch, the CEO, the decision maker, and that hiring a nanny was a matter of reallocating resources where the greatest need was. But cross-examined, he exploded. Asked about fiduciary duty, the legal obligation to treat all partners similarly, he shouted, "This is my family, not a corporation." The lawyer quietly reminded him that he himself had signed the incorporation forms, signed the tax returns, and legally formed Dabzark as a corporation. And then, the moment that will never be forgotten in that courtroom, the lawyer played the notorious audio recording, Kody's own voice, bellowing, "What does the nanny do?" The courtroom was silent. Asked to respond to that question under oath, Kody lost his grip. He ranted, flailed his arms, even pointed at Janelle and called her a lazy wife. The judge threatened to hold him in contempt if he did not quiet down. His testimony had caused way more harm than good. Then there was Robyn. She sobbed uncontrollably before she even answered the first question. It came out in sobs that she said she knew nothing, that all money matters were left to Kody, that she was swimming in little kids and the nanny was her salvation. But cross-examination sliced right through. She was reminded that she wasn't merely a wife, she was the corporation's secretary. Her name was on the papers. She must have known where the money was being sent. Her "I just trusted my husband" defense didn't fly. The defense finished. Their argument rested on emotion, excuses, and appeals for sympathy. Janelle's rested on receipts, testimony, and the law. Closing arguments were brief. Janelle's lawyer led the jury through the evidence one final time. The $92,000. Paper trail. Christine's composed testimony. Mindy's honest answers. They broke the law. They broke the trust. It is that simple. The defense pleaded the jury not to tear apart a family for what they termed a misunderstanding. Undefined. A jury deliberated for less than 3 hours and then the verdict was in. Responsible for misappropriation of company funds. Responsible for breach of fiduciary responsibility. Responsible for unjust enrichment. It was a sweep. Janelle had won on all counts. But that was not the end of it. In his decision, he labeled Kody and Robyn's actions a shocking disregard for their duties as business partners. He stated they had treated Dabzark more like their personal slush fund than a corporation. His decree was quick and merciless. The Browns would pay back the entire $92,000, along with Janelle's attorney fees, which doubled the entire bill. The backlash was swift. The court decided to dissolve Dabsark, sell off its assets, and divide the land in equal share between the 5 partners. For Janelle, Christine and Mary, it meant they could finally stake their rightful claim on Coyote Pass, free at last from Kody and Robyn's grip. But for Kody and Robyn, it meant bankruptcy. Sources said they were even required to mortgage their enormous mansion for the second time, just to pay the judgment. And poof, the Brown dynasty was no more. Years of tension, favoritism, and secretive finances, all brought out into the open and settled, not through hours of therapy or family summit but within a courtroom. So, at the end of it all, what did she do? She blew it all wide open. She was the loose thread that, when pulled, unraveled the whole knitted fabric of deceit and betrayal, because this suit was never so much about $92,000. It was about accountability, about one woman who had borne the weight in silence for decades finally standing up and saying, "No more." The Brown family of which we knew is no more. The business ended, the property split, and Kody and Robyn, they're left in a very large house with a very large mortgage, facing a future they'll now have to fund all by themselves.